I'd now like to welcome to the show two-time Super Bowl champ and starting guard Kevin Boothe. Kevin, welcome to Talking Sports with the Bird. How are you?
Thanks for having me, Bird. I'm very happy to be here.
Well, I'll tell you what, you guys have got to be happy with the game yesterday. I know it's a little more excitement than you wanted, 27-23 victory. I know you're on the offensive side of the ball, but just take me quickly into RG3. Obviously, we're hearing Justin talk, Tom Coughlin. Everybody praised him yesterday. You guys have gone up against Michael Vick, gone up against Cam Newton. The praise for RG3 is basically over the top. I know you don't spend much time watching him during the game. You're prepping for your side. But what are your impressions of RG3 in that Washington offense?
Well, I'll tell you what, the little bit that I saw of him, and talking with the defensive guys, they said he's the real deal. And, they're I think they're a little upset that he's in a division, because I think they realize they're going to have to go against him many more times in the future. So, he's a great, great talent, and, it'll be exciting going against him in the future.
Listen to Kevin Boothe of the Giants after yesterday's victory, 27-23 over first division victory, which was huge. Giants going 1-2 now in the division. Early in the game, go back to the offensive side with Eli, and we'll get into all his accolades later. But it seemed like he was kind of out of sync. Missed the touchdown pass with Cruz early, overthrew. I thought was a sure touchdown later on. Had a couple of shaky interceptions, but you guys got a quarterback that you guys have supreme confidence in. He's shown it before. What is that feeling like, knowing no matter if the guy's not having his great game, just get him the ball with a couple minutes left, you're going to come out on top? Talk about that feeling.
Yeah, well, trust me, we would not like to be in those situations. But, unfortunately, we have been in a lot of those situations, especially over the last year plus. And, it's very calming to know that, he's going to play very well. Nothing really bothers him. No matter what happens prior, you're going to get the same guy out there, who's willing to block out everything that might have happened before, good or bad, and he'll give you his best shot. And more times than not, that best shot is quite successful.
Go back to the two Super Bowls. You were part of both of them with David Tyree in 2007 and Manningham last year. These guys obviously have moved on, but the one remaining constant is Eli. When you're blocking for a guy like that, and late in the game, you talked about it a little, the confidence you have, but what does he say? Everybody knows the story with Joe Montana making a comment in the huddle in one of the Super Bowls. Does Eli talk much to you, basically just give me some time and I'll get it done, or is it something that through eye contact what's going to happen?
Yeah, I think it's just his demeanor. His demeanor doesn't change, and I think it's almost a calming influence because you come into the huddle and you realize the stakes are high, especially, going back to last year's Super Bowl, we get the ball back, I think, backed up, and there's under 2 minutes left or something along those lines. And, everybody else would be nervous in the world. But, with him, he was so calm and collected. It's like, okay, we know we're going to score. So, I think that his presence and his demeanor, I think, is the main thing that I think calms our offense down and just lets us go about our business. And we focus one play at a time like he does.
Talking Sports with the Bird with offensive guard Kevin Boothe of the Giants. The running backs on the team now, I know Brandon Jacobs left last year, and we'll talk about all the different positions you've played on the offensive line with the Giants, but is there a difference in blocking for a guy like Brandon Jacobs as opposed to blocking for Ahmad Bradshaw and Andre Brown this year?
To tell you the truth, most of the times I barely even know who's in the game. I think when Brandon's in the game, Brandon was here, you knew because you couldn't see Eli because you had this guy that's your size standing in front of you. But, other than that, we just go out blocking it, to the best of our abilities. And, each of those guys has a specific skill set that brings something new to the table. And they've been successful, during their time with us.
The commentators didn't talk about it much yesterday, but one guy that knew he wasn't in the game enough to his liking, and in my opinion, watching it from home, was Bradshaw. Now, I know he's been banged up, but I know he's also had a couple of good games the last 2 weeks. It seemed like he was real, especially after the touchdown, putting you guys up 20-13. Bradshaw really seemed to be restrained a couple of times from going after people. Now, was it a thing where he felt he wasn't in the game enough, or he wasn't getting the ball enough?
Well, I don't think he was going to attack anybody on the sideline. But, Ahmad is a fiery guy. That's why we love him. If it was up to Ahmad would get 65 carries a game. So, he has a heart of a lion. He's one of the toughest guys I've ever met. So, I think he always feels that he's going to help us win the game. And, in his situation with the game yesterday, the way the game was going, things were unpredictable and we were still playing ahead. It wasn't like the last couple of weeks where we were able to kind of run the ball effectively in the second half just to basically shorten the game and then open up bigger runs. This game was very much in doubt, and it called for some different things with what they were doing defensively. And, it created some unique circumstances. Obviously I think if we were to play the game again and do it over again, we'd love to get him more touches. But hey, he understands that he's been in our offense now for his whole career. Things come and go, and who knows, maybe this game he gets 30 carries again. You never know how the games will play out.
Yep, talking sports with the Bird with Kevin Boothe, starting offensive guard with the New York Giants off the thrilling victory yesterday against the Redskins. Kevin, you were drafted by, I'm a Raider fan, you were drafted by the Raiders. I'm sure you're glad to get out of there, so we don't want to get into the silver and black. But the last 7 years with the Giants, you've played a multitude of positions. Tom Coughlin's talked about the story last year against Green Bay, where basically a half an hour before the game, you were told you were going to play center. I remember the game well, and I'm sure you do as well. Talk to the average fan about basically a lot of them think that you could just plug a guy in. Look, you're blocking. What's the difference, tackle, guard, or center? Talk about the intricacies of your different positions that you've played and how playing multiple positions in college has prepared you for that.
Yeah, I have played a lot of positions during my time here with the Giants. I think that goes back to our offensive line coach, Pat Flaherty. We always try to work different combinations in practice and training camp, just because you never know what could happen throughout the course of the game or throughout the course of the season, because typically on a game day, you're only dressing 7 offensive linemen. So, if something goes wrong, those 2 guys have to be able to fill in at any of the 5 different positions. So I'm always prepared that way as if I was a starter, even though, I wasn't really a full-time starter until probably halfway through last season. It's a lot of work just going into studying the playbook and knowing the different responsibilities of each position and also the different techniques that you use out there. And, obviously playing center will be different than playing guard and things like that. But I think our preparation as an offensive line has helped get me ready for whatever role that might occur throughout the course of the game or a season. I think the same can be said for other guys on the offensive line, too. I think that we all can play more than one position. I think that's what makes us such a special unit. The
cohesion that goes behind the offensive line, and we're up in Connecticut, so I know Will Beatty's taken his fair share of abuse from fans, but you guys have gone through a lot of changes. Sean O'Hara now doing a great job with the NFL Network. Rich Seibert, retired. Talk about what you've learned from those guys and just how important the cohesion and how long it takes to get that cohesion with an offensive line.
Hey, I hear all the time about how, when I joined the team in 2007, prior to that year, it seemed like they were getting bashed nonstop regarding their offensive line playing. They were able to play together, I think, for about 3 or 4 years straight. And, by the time that run ended, they were pretty much regarded throughout the league as the best offensive line. And I think that's important, to have that cohesion and be able to work together for long periods of time. And, coming to the Giants in my second year, I really learned what it was like to be a professional by learning from those guys like O'Hara, Soibert, Kareem, McKenzie, and Chris Snee and Dave Deal. Those guys really showed me what it's like to prepare and to get ready for the grind of the season and to expect excellence and to go out and do your job in a professional manner.
Talking offensive guard in the Giants, Kevin Boothe. Couple more, Kevin. You're a graduate of Cornell. So Not really a football factory, but I guarantee you got some of the best grades on the team. Now, a lot of guys on Saturday, I'm sure, like to brag about Saturday football. You got Justin Tuck with Notre Dame. You got Trell Roll with the U. Nothing against Cornell, but what are you doing on Saturday when people start bragging about their alma maters and how good they're doing in the polls?
I keep quiet, and I try not to laugh too hard when people make fun of other schools because if they see me joking around, they'll come right back to Cornell and ask who we played this week or if we even started our season yet, which we haven't. And basically, I have one rival on my team, and that's Zach Diossi, long snapper that went to Brown, who I played against in college. And so we have one weekend a year, and unfortunately, it was this past weekend with Brown beating Cornell by 7 points. So, I think that was pretty much the extent of our trash talking on Saturdays. Other than that, we just kind of sit in the corner and listen to everybody else.
But I'll tell you one thing. It does show that people will find talent no matter where the school is. And it leads me to my last question. You brought up you at Cornell and Diassi at Brown. When I look at a guy like Victor Cruz, who basically made the game-winning catch yesterday, now you were drafted by the Raiders, but Victor Cruz undrafted at a UMass. Just talk about how that drives you as a player. It's almost like you almost have to prove yourself because you went to Cornell, even though you were drafted. But a guy like Cruz, not drafted, guys like Chase Blackburn didn't have a contract last year. And, look at the run he went on. But just talk about how much that makes you stronger as a player when you look at a guy like Victor Cruz and what he's accomplished.
Yeah, no doubt it makes you fight for everything. These are tough-minded individuals. You talk about Victor Cruz, who basically was just kind of given a tryout because he was a local guy, and,
Yep.
Everybody knows Chase's story last year being out of football the whole year, but he kept working out in preparation for that phone call that finally came, I think, around Thanksgiving. So, having guys on the team like that, they definitely bring a tough mindset, and I think that's what Coach Coughlin always preaches, not only physical toughness, but mental toughness. And I think that we have a very mentally tough unit here that's been through a lot and willing to do anything to come out on top at the end of the game.
I appreciate that. Kevin Boothe, I really appreciate the time. Kevin Boothe, offensive guard of the Giants, next Sunday. Looking forward to that late Dallas game. Kevin, good luck in the rest of the season, and really appreciate your time today.
Thanks a lot, Bert. I really appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you.